presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Minnesota.
Twins have dropped 9 of their last 12. They've lost 2 of the first 3 in this series against the Rangers. They try to salvage a split in the finale here this afternoon at Target Field on Fox Sports North. Nick Martinez will go for the Rangers today. 15 appearances, 12 starts. He was hit hard his last time out by the Mariners. On the other side, Jose Barrios looking for his 10th win of the season. It's been a major step forward in his second season with the club. Twins baseball is brought to you by State Farm. Welcome to Target Field with Tim Laudner. I'm Anthony LaPanta. The story for the Twins lately has been complete games. They've been a rarity around baseball this year. Only 24 total thrown in the American League, but the Twins have thrown of them and had 1 thrown against them, 3 in the last 4 games.
And when you take a look at guys, and we don't get to see this very often, this makes Bert Blyleven and Jack Morris very proud to see starting pitchers take the baseball and pitch all the way through to a complete game. We saw Irvin Santana do it on Wednesday. 9 innings, just 4 hits. He had a little bit of a bump in the middle. Corella hit a 2-run home run. Did he change his approach? Not one bit. Bartolo Colon, he got off to a bit of a rough start on Friday night. But did he change the way he pitched? No, absolutely not. He kept on his game plan. He threw strike 1, and when he threw strike 1, he continued to add on. And Cole Hamels last night did a masterful job against the Minnesota Twins. 9 innings pitched, just 4 hits, no earned runs. When you take a look at these 3 guys, Santana with 145 career wins. Colon was his 236th career win, and Hamels last night was his 142nd career win. You're talking about 3 experienced guys, 523 wins between them. That comes as no surprise that those are the guys pitching complete games.
Twins lead baseball with 6 complete games this year. The 1 thrown by Hamels last night, the first thrown against the Twins all season long. So now the challenge today is for Jose Barrios to follow suit. He's been taking steps forward this year. Dick Bramer, Roy Smalley, Audra Martin are next.
Number 17, Jose Barrios. Check swing, got him.
Backdoor breaking ball.
95 across the letters, a swing and a miss. Got him looking, and he had no chance. Barrios strikes out the side. Jose Barrios will make his first ever start against the Texas Rangers in the series and season series finale. Barrios hoping to have a good final couple of months in his first full season in the big leagues. Good Sunday afternoon to you from Target Field. Dick Bramer along with Roy Smalley. And while the hitting has been sporadic this year, the pitching has been sporadic. On the pitching side, Jose Barrios has been really, really good.
He really has been good. A really much needed boost to the starting staff. Had a great first half. Second half of the season, not quite as good. He still gets a little bit excitable, and pitching coach Neil Allen says he gets a rushing a little bit when things aren't really good, going the way he'd like to. But last time out, he was some kind of good. He had a great breaking ball. Probably the best breaking ball command he's had this year, and because of how good that was, he was blowing guys away with fastballs as well. When he has this kind of command of those two pitches, he can be awfully tough. That's what we're looking for today.
As inconsistent as the hitting and the pitching has been this year, the most constant part of this Twins team, the best part of this Twins team, has been its defense. Instead of it being a liability, it's been an asset.
What an improvement they have made all over the field defensively. We've seen in the outfield just great defense from left, center, and right. But the infield's been terrific too. We didn't know how the left side was going to be. Polanco and Sano have been really good, and really all over the field. We know about Dozier. Joe Mauer's playing gold glove type defense. Everybody's been playing great.
Well, the Twins won the series down in Arlington against the Rangers. The best they can hope for is a split in this series and a win in the season series. The finale coming up next. a series where early power has defined the ball games in the first 3 games. Mazzara with a home run early in the ball game, first inning, in fact, last night, and that kind of set the tone for a Texas win. The night before, Twins hit a couple of first inning home runs, took control of the game. So we'll see what happens here in the series finale. Twins with a good day in the field, but not so much at the plate. Just getting a handful of hits against Cole Hamels. And yeah, Jose Barrios, this is not his first full year in the big leagues. He's been a fixture in the rotation, and once he got called up a few weeks into the season, he has been about as steady as anybody else in the rotation. Jeff Bannister and the Rangers still have hopes of getting back to the 500 mark. Both teams, both the Twins and the Rangers, start today 4 games below the watermark. Menard's batting order for the Rangers: Shin-Soo Choo leading off, Elvis Andrus batting second, Nomar Mazara, Adrian Beltre, Rougned Odor, Mike Napoli, Joey Gallo, Carlos Gomez, and Robinson Chirinos.
As Dick mentioned, Jose Barrios on the mound for the Minnesota Twins, and it is just a question of command for him. If he's pounding the strike zone with that stuff that he's got, fastball, curveball, change, he'll be awfully good.
And the Northland Fort defense for the Twins. An outfield of Rosario, Buxton, Kepler, kind of a adjusted infield defense again with Sano out of the lineup. Escobar's at third, Polanco, Dozier up the middle, Joe Bauer back at first base, and Jason Castro back behind the plate. Shin-Soo Choo to lead things off. The season series right now is tied at 3. Twins took 2 out of 3 in Arlington back in late April, and the Rangers have won 2 of the first 3 of this series. That's the short center field, and it'll fall for a hit. Choo dropping a soft single in front of Buxton, and the leadoff man is on. That'll bring up hot hitting Elvis Andrus. Hasn't just been this series. He's done really well against the Twins in the 6 games.
He's been really good at the plate all year long. Always been a terrific shortstop defensively. They expected him to be a pretty good offensive player, and finally living up to some pretty big promise that they've been expecting to see realize here for some time. He's having a nice year.
Breaking ball gets a swing and a miss. A couple years ago, the Rangers made a big commitment to Andrus, signing him to a long extension through 2022 with an option for 2023. And Andrus has responded by upping his numbers, playing up to the contract. Sometimes obviously that doesn't happen. And Choo chased back to the bag at first. Barrios giving up a hit to the first batter in his last start against the Padres. He waited until the 6th inning before he gave up a hit, and that was a scratch single. And there was a ball that could have been caught in the outfield that went for a double. Padres had a run, and that was all that it would take to beat Barrios in his last start. 0-2 now to Andrus. Barrios, of course, has stuff, and because of that, I think he might be the type of pitcher that would be tough to face a first time. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. You don't see this kind of stuff, quality stuff, very often. If you've never seen him before, he's going to surprise you with. He can surprise you with any of his 3 pitches. He's got a good moving fastball. As we look at the umpires, Marty Foster behind the plate. But he's got a good moving fastball, does Barrios, and really good curveball when he has command of it. It really is a wipeout kind of curveball and sticks in hitters' minds. And then a good changeup. If you've never seen him before, any one of those 3 pitches can surprise you.
And he comes inside with a hard fastball and gets a strikeout. 1 down. Choo still at first, and now Mazzara.
And the thing about his stuff is that once you have seen him, as we look at this again, he went curveball, fastball outside, good moving fastball inside. and just dispatches Andrus very easily. But even if you've as a hitter, once you've seen Jose Berríos, the stuff is still plenty good enough to get you out if he's got command and location. When you have that kind of stuff and then you happen to throw it in good spots, it's really, really tough.
Mazzara, the batter. And fastball for strike one. Not to pick on Kyle Gibson, but Gibson, the starter for the Twins last night, he doesn't have the movement, the late movement that Berríos does. So even if you were to face him for the first time, and there are similar type pitchers to Gibson out there that you could, I would think, react well facing him for the first time. And this guy, I think, is a little bit different.
Well, yeah, this guy's different than a lot of guys. You don't see 3+ pitches out in one guy like you do Jose Berríos very often. I mean, his stuff is upper echelon caliber stuff. So it's going to just be experience and consistency. Once he gets that experience, he has been through more situations that he pitches himself out of. He understands when he doesn't have good command, what does he do then? How does he get it back? Once he gets that kind of experience and confidence, consistency in his delivery, he's going to be very, very difficult to beat. Upper echelon type stuff, no question.
2-1 to the left fielder for the Rangers today.
And you see right there in that pitch, that's the pitch and the delivery that gives him trouble. Neil Allen, the pitching coach, says when Berríos gets in trouble, his lower body gets moving really fast. He gets out ahead of his arm. And you see right here, he's out ahead of his arm. His arm can't catch up, and that's when you start leaving changeups and fastballs way out there. You know he's gotten out ahead of it. He tends to do that more in the stretch than he does in the windup. Couple that with when he's in the stretch, it means there's one or more runners on base, and he gets a little excitable. Those are the kinds of things I'm talking about. When he learns to control that part of the game and just allow his stuff to work, then he's going to be really outstanding.
Fouled away. Spent the first 5 weeks of this season in Rochester, and so right now, and it would do us all well to remind ourselves of this. This inning is his 150th at this level.
Right. And I think that is well said about a lot of guys on this Twins Major League roster. Certainly Berríos, Max Kepler, Sano, Buxton. They have fewer than 1,000 at bats in the big leagues. And we look at the talent that's there, and we expect that to be full-fledged big league star talent right away, and it's just not.
Chu will hold up at second. So a leadoff single, now a 1-out walk, 2 aboard for Adrian Beltre. Beltre, the designated hitter for the Rangers. Some foot issues earlier this year, so his numbers are down from where they typically have been. And Berríos looking to get a ground ball double play. He's gotten 10 of them so far this year. Breaking ball up. Oh, a high strike call. 0-1. (39 2/3 innings at AAA, and now a little over 90 innings. Yeah, that had plenty of the strike zone. And now the swing and the miss on the breaking ball. 0-2.
And that's the good one. That one he just threw right there is next to unhittable. It's got late break. It's got a lot of break. The trajectory on it was really good. The first one that he showed Beltre was kind of almost a hanger, but it still has so much break. He got back in in the strike zone, and then that last one was a really good one. He's got him set up for fastball or breaking ball away here.
Fastball, and it's popped up over the Ranger dugout. From up here, I've made the comparison that Berrios' breaking ball is Corey Kluber-like. Would you agree with that or not?
It's a bigger break. Both of those are really great breaking balls. Kluber more like a little more like a slider. It's a little bit smaller break, but both of them outstanding, as good as it gets.
Taken low, 1-2. Berrios has had to work here in this first inning after the leadoff single and then the walk to Mazzara. Trying to put a future Hall of Famer away here. Maybe get him to bounce into a double play. Breaking ball taken for ball 2. Scoring in the first inning has dictated the outcome of the first 3 games of this series, and Berrios trying to pitch out of a jam right away in the first this afternoon. To left field and deep and gone. A 3-run home run, and the Rangers jump out in front 3-0 in the first inning. Tenth home run of the year for Beltre.
Well, again, it really is about command. It's about walks and not throwing the ball where you want to. That pitch right there, he got the same pitch 0-2 and fouled it, was way out in front. I just didn't think they'd come back with fastball. When you're 0-2 and get out in front that much, you're just not getting fooled on fastballs. And that pitch right there is just not the pitch he wanted to Beltre.
Looked like Castro's target was up, maybe even out of the strike zone, and it settled in near the inside corner. Ball 1 now to Odor.
Well, they've been striking Beltre out up high, but you're right, way out of the strike zone. It just looked to me like he was on the fastball with that 0-2 swing that he had. I think he had him struck out when he threw the breaking ball after that, but he couldn't throw it near the plate. And again, it's just command of the pitches. If he throws the ball where he wants to throw it, he's close to unhittable. But if he's behind guys and not finishing them off with pitches when he has the opportunity, then that's when he gets in trouble.
3-0, 21 pitches, just 11 strikes. Napoli on deck. Strike called. Odor wanted first base. Not the best time to bring this up, but Berrios is 6-0 with an ERA of 3.20 during day games. And he's given up 3 already here in the first this afternoon. And there is strike 2. Fouled, and then to the backstop. A 94-mile-per-hour fastball. Marlins trying to encourage Berrios to get him over the hump here in the first inning. Beltre's 3-run home run didn't help. Got him looking. Fastball that darted over the inside corner, 2 down. That'll bring up Mike Napoli. Well, the Rangers are a home run hitting team. They don't have a very good team batting average, but they can hit it over the fence. 25 of them since July 23rd.
When you're facing a team that hits a lot of balls out of the ballpark, but that's their main strength, they don't have a good team batting average. You have to understand that not walking people is just critical. They're unlikely to string a lot of hits together in any one given inning. If you pitch them well, you're gonna get most of the guys out every inning, and just they're gonna hit an occasional home run. You can't give them a free one with a walk ahead of that.
Inside. If you've watched the Twins at all in the last couple of weeks, you know the team is struggling to hit, score runs. They have a team batting average of 249. The Rangers team batting average is 240. You know, we're talking 110 games into the season now, and a team batting average of 240. 2-1 to Napoli. And now 2-2. 30th pitch of the inning coming up. And Napoli hit by a breaking ball. On the verge of ending the inning, Berrios now has another dangerous hitter in Joey Gallo to face. Escobar and Polanco come to the mound.
And again, we saw the high outside changeup, that were a high inside curveball. As Neil Allen said, he gets rushing with his lower body, and he can't get the arm in the slot that he needs to. You see him step off and rub up the ball, take the time. As you watch the replay, he'll spin open a little bit early. It leaves his arm dragging behind him, and then the up and in curveball as a result. You see him step off and try to slow down, but Neil said he'll slow his body down by stepping off and rubbing up the ball, but not his mind. It's one thing to say, okay, I gotta take my time here, I gotta get myself back together, but when your mind's real excitable and it's going a million miles an hour, that's what you have to learn how to calm down.
He really hasn't been bitten by the home run ball. That's the one that Beltre hit, just the 10th home run he's allowed in over 90 innings. And blocked by Castro, and it falls to 2-0. And in hitting Napoli, he now has 10 hit batters. Twins in a hole already here, and Berrios having a terrible time getting the third out.
I would imagine a significant number of those hit batters are also on breaking balls.
Well,
I'd be willing to bet that.
When Napoli got hit, I was trying to think. I don't know that he's hit anyone with a fastball. I mean, the image I have in my mind, they're all changeups and breaking balls. Yep. 2-0 pitch, swung on and fouled back. 2-1. Two and one to Gallo. 2-2.
Dangerous there. You see where the target was that Jason Castro gave him. It was up above the belt. That's above the swing, the normal swing playing Joey Gallo. It's where you have to pitch him with fastballs. And that ball stayed down just a little bit. Gallo was right on it. Kept the big end of the bat right to the ball. Just hit underneath it a bit. Location, location, location.
Breaking ball, bounced foul. 19 strikes. 35 pitches, and I think in his last start against the Padres, he's already done with the third inning. He's trying to wrap up the first inning here. Launched to right field.
Low fastball.
A tape measure shot, and it's 5-0.
Again, you saw him miss the target, Castro's target, by at least a foot. Threw it right down in the swing plane of Joey Gallo.
That's one of the longest ones ever hit here, if they ever are able to measure the distance. Neil Allen to the mound, and Berrios has given up a 3-run home run and a 2-run home run in the very first inning. So much for the difficulty of seeing someone for the first time.
See the target and where the ball is. That difference right there. I mean, we've talked about this all series with the Rangers. Mid-thigh high for Joey Gallo. It's like putting the ball on a tee for him.
And you can see the reaction from Jason Castro.
Yep. You see where this ball lands, way up over the walkway up to the second deck.
Last time I walked through there was a car parked back in there. I don't know if the car got hit or not. 5 for the Rangers in the first, and a trip to the mound by Neil Allen and now Carlos Gomez. And the erratic nature of this inning has really cost Berrios. The walk with 1 out to Mazzara. Then he got ahead of Napoli before hitting him with a breaking ball. And Gallo goes, well, the term is he went a yard and a half. Off the end of the bat, foul, 1 strike. Gomez was hit by a pitch last night. Stole second, scored on a base hit. Give the Rangers a late insurance run. And they're starting to stir in the Twins bullpen here in the first inning. Two and 1. Pitch number 40 coming up.
Yeah, it just, we could not have a bigger, a starker discrepancy between this game and his last start.
Breaking ball over.
In San Diego, we watched him out there. It was just strike after strike after strike with every pitch he had. If you look at Tyler Duffy starting to loosen up a little bit.
Taken out after 7 innings just because his spot was due up in the batting order and the Twins were down a run. Gomez strikes out. And the torturously long first inning comes to an end for Berrios. Beltre went deep and Gallo went deep. And it's a 5-0 start for Texas. feet. It came with a man aboard, part of a 5-run first inning. And the Menard batting order for the Twins. Brian Dozier leading off, then Joe Mauer, Eduardo Escobar, Eddie Rosario, Robbie Grossman, Max Kempler, Byron Buxton, Jason Castro, and Jorge Polanco.
Nick Martinez on the mound for the Texas Rangers, slated to be kind of a spot starter guy this year for the Texas Rangers, and ends up now, for a lot of different reasons, as it made as many starts as Cole Hamels has.
Defense for the Rangers. Mazares in left, Gomez in center, Chu in right. Gallo moved into the infield to play third base. Andres Odor up the middle, Napoli at first, and Chirinos behind the plate. And Brian Dozier in the box. Lights are on here at Target Field. First pitch up and in, ball 1. Appropriately so. There's a dark cloud hanging over Target Field here, and then the Rangers scored 5 runs on top of it in the top of the first. Dozier lifts it foul down the right field line, and it's 1-1. Just saw a flash of lightning right about where that cloud is behind the scoreboard. Game got started 45 minutes late last night. 1-1. 1-2.
It's such a funny thing, and Brian's seen 2 pitches now in a row. 92-mile-an-hour fastballs right down the middle there. He was in that streak last year. That ball went in the seats, and it went in the seats about 30 times. Just never seemed to miss one.
93 and shoulder high. 2-2. Martinez had a birthday yesterday. Turned 27 yesterday. I was going to say he celebrated his birthday, but I have no idea what he did. He might have been morose all day long for all I know. But he had a birthday. On the outside corner, Dozier strikes out looking. 1 down, and now Joe Mauer.
Looks like their fastball looked like it was right on the corner, maybe just outside.
Mauer not in the lineup last night, back in the lineup at first base. I think you'd have to say that A. Adrianza handled things at first base just fine in Mauer's absence.
Said he was comfortable over there. And had a couple of plays that he made. They're relatively routine for a good fielder, as he is.
Not in the lineup today. You have to like how Martinez is conducting business here. He's just throwing fastballs. He's got a 5-run lead coming right at the Twins hitters. That fastball misses low, and it's 1-1. Inside, another fastball.
Tried to cut that one. You saw that movement from right to left as we're looking at the plate from the center field camera.
Joe spent some time before regular batting practice yesterday working with James Rowson. Some tee work on the field. And based on where he was hitting the ball and where the shaggers were, the intent of the hitting session was to work on pulling the ball to right field.
Yep, they spent a lot of time discussing how they were going to get the big end of the bat out in front to get to the ball from the middle in, fastballs from the middle in.
Of course, pulling the ball has never been a strength for Joe.
You can see him swung way around in the outfield. Right fielder, the most, probably the most pulled around.
Outside. And just as soon as I complimented Martinez for conducting himself in a professional way with a 5-run lead, he walks the second hitter. And now Escobar. Escobar hitting third, by default, of course, because Sano is out of the lineup. Sano is going to have have somebody take another look at his hand injury. Hit by a pitch here 2 nights ago. On the left hand. Same hand he was hit. That got hit in Los Angeles on the road trip. There's strike 1 to Escobar. Inside 1-1.
First breaking ball we've seen from Martinez. So straight fastball, cut fastball, curveball. That's mainly the book on Martinez. He will throw a changeup periodically, but he's mostly a fastball, cut fastball type of guy.
Outside.
And there's the changeup. Cut fastball for those who are wondering about that term. The pitchers throw a cut fastball. They put more pressure on their middle finger. They hold the ball thumb and first 2 fingers. Put more pressure on the middle finger as Larry DeVito checks to see if that lightning that we saw is going to mean anything.
I don't know, feel kind of like I'm eavesdropping there. Here we're zooming in on Larry DeVito's phone, but he had it on.
No, you saw the
radar.
Saw the radar. Looks like it's all north of here. At least the heavy stuff.
Knowing Larry, that's probably his screensaver.
Yeah.
Constant radar, at least while the team's at home. 2-2. And Escobar chases up and away. Strikeout for the second out. And that'll bring up Rosario. Rosario hitting cleanup for the first time.
Fastball up and away out of the strike zone. Eduardo not happy with himself. Not only is that out of the strike zone, but it's out of his hit zone. He's a low fastball hitter, low break. Anything down below the belt, it's his strength.
Tap foul, off-speed pitch. Miguel Sano is going to hit in the middle of the Twins lineup for years to come. That is one given, I think, that you can state about the Twins moving forward. But they'd like someone like Rosario to join him as a legitimate middle of the lineup hitter. You know, behind Sano, it's been an ongoing rotation of players. When Kenny Vargas was here, sometimes he'd be hitting behind Sano. Sometimes Kepler has hit 4th behind Sano. But the Twins really don't have an established middle of the lineup. They've got Sano and then fill in the blanks.
They don't really have an established lineup for anybody other than Sano up and down the lineup. There's, Brian Dozier has done a really nice job as a leadoff hitter, but that's can't be his. I don't think it's his best spot in the order. And they're waiting. You're right. They're anticipating, have been for a long time, that Eddie Rosario and Max Kepler, for example, would be 2, 3, 5, lineup spot type of guys.
1-2. And Rosario takes.
It's really, really hard right now with the lineup in the situation that we're talking about. I would think for Paul Molitor to know where to put Miguel Sano. So you want to hit him 4th because you can kind of build around the 4th guy, and yet you just hate for him not to be up in the 1st inning. And so it's just difficult for him to cobble together a lineup until some of these other guys start hitting like they can.
And Rosario chases strike 3. Bauer left the board, and it's 5-0 Texas.
It's time for our car soup scoop from the clubhouse. Miguel Sano says that left hand is still very sore and he's still unable to grip anything. He is going back to have a checkup again with the doctor, but good news, Paul Molitor says the disabled list is unlikely. Assistant hitting coach Rudy Hernandez said he was pleasantly surprised to see Eddie Rosario in the 4th spot in the lineup. When he talked to Eddie, he said, I'm just going to take it as if I'm hitting in the A spot, which is exactly what Rudy wanted to hear. Glenn Perkins will throw an extended bullpen session on Monday, then he'll head to Double-A for his first set of back-to-back outings. If that goes well, he could be back with the Twins mid-month. Guys?
Well, thank you, Audra. Glenn Perkins here in town for his charity run. The 15's 5K, and now he'll pitch some at Double-A, and if things go well physically, we might see his return to the big league club rather soon. 1-1 the count to the number 9 hitter, Robinson Chirinos. Fly ball to center. Buxton goes back, making the catch, 1 away. During the commercial break, I looked at my own phone for the radar, and the most imminent threat, I think, is going to stay north of the ballpark. We just saw it kind of rain. It looked like it is raining north of the downtown area, but I do not have an AMS degree, or whatever, it's AMS, isn't it? American Meteorological Society. They have not certified me as a weather forecaster.
Well, then I guess you don't ever have to say anything about the weather again.
Well, I will, whether I should or not. Another matter. 2-0. Chu dumped a single into center, and then a couple batters later scored on Beltre's 3-run home run. Over the inside corner, 2-1. Chu, of course, has established himself as a very good major league player. There is still some hope for a countryman, Byung-Ho Park, who's really been hitting well for Rochester after a very slow start. He's getting his batting average up, maybe not with the power that was projected for him. Park not on the 40-man roster of the Twins, but he's doing well for the AAA team. This one hit to Buxton, and that's out number 2. And that'll bring up Andrus. Remember last year when Park was with the big league club, talking with Chu, he said, you know, it took him years to feel comfortable, assimilated in this country. It's tough enough to hit major league pitching, but then you think the culture shock, literally the culture shock of coming over from South Korea to here is a little bit difficult to deal with.
Took me years to get assimilated to big league pitching. And you
grew up in Southern California.
Right. You know, that's tough duty. You come into a completely different culture and into a baseball league that is miles ahead of the one that you're used to playing in. And you're used to being a star in that league, and you come over here and it's really, really different and not that easy. And then the culture is totally different on top of that. And I would say that Byung-Ho Park in AAA, first of all, he needs to conquer that level. He needs to prove to himself that because AAA, I believe in this country is ahead of the Korean league, Korean baseball league. So he's got to conquer that one. But also, I think your point about his average creeping up, not having quite the same power that we're used to, that inevitably had to happen as well, in my opinion.
To left center field, chased by Rosario, and he won't get there. He'll go to the wall, and Andrus trots into second with a 2-out double.
Just not seeing the consistent command, obviously, from Jose Barrios. And after throwing Andrus in 2 at-bats in a row, really, really nasty curveballs. Then he gets in with 2 strikes and hangs one. You hang a curveball to a guy that's as hot as Andrus is. You see the location of his curveball. It just settles right there in the middle of the plate. And Andrus is just swinging about too well to miss that one.
Without an AMS seal of approval, I can tell you it's raining at Target Field. And the batter is Nomar Mazara. Drew a walk, scored on the Beltre home run. Missing, ball one.
So he throws that one 2-2 to Andrus. He strikes him out.
Pulled on the ground. Bauer will take care of it. And it's a scoreless second inning for Jose Berrios. Guys are better heard and not seen. But here we are with Larry DeVito out on the field talking with Mark Wegner about the weather situation, and at least for now the decision is to not put the tarp on the field. Still raining pretty good. They're protected. So are they. Robbie Grossman will lead off the second. Twins have a big hole to dig themselves out of. Grossman, Kepler, and Buxton will hit in the second inning. I want to pass along happy birthday today to Ann Sween of Eden Prairie. I would give Ann's age, but that's not the polite thing to do, is it?
Nor hardly the point. Just happy birthday.
That's right.
It's just the day.
It's a day for you to enjoy.
Yeah, happy birthday.
1-1. The count to Grossman. Played in right field last night, back in the DH spot today. And Robbie Grossman's been one of the steadiest performers for the Twins in terms of doing what Robbie Grossman can do, get on base, but that doesn't necessarily make him a fifth-place hitter either. We're talking about the difficulty Paul Molitor's had in putting people in the right spot. Grossman slashes a single to left, and he's aboard leading off the second inning. And that'll bring up Max Kepler. Join Michael Kadire, Andy McPhail, and other Twins Hall of Famers at the Hall of Fame breakfast Saturday, August 19th. The event will include a retrospective program featuring Michael Kadire and Andy McPhail, as well as a Q&A session and autographs with the 2017 Twins Hall of Fame inductees. To learn more and register today, visit twinsbaseball.com/breakfast. There's a chance Andy's already had a distinguished career in baseball. Twins got him out of the Houston organization. 2 world championships here. Then he went on to the Cubs, and he went to the Orioles, now the president of the Phillies. There's a chance Andy could join his father and his grandfather in the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown.
Sure there is.
1 strike to Max Kepler. Grandfather Larry and Father Lee are both enshrined in Cooperstown. 1-1 to Kepler. Driven to right. He's hit this a long way.
Yes, sir,
He's hit it into the second deck. Kepler's the 11th of the year. The Twins are on the board.
He's been really, really good against right-handers this year. When the right-hander's on the mound, you don't throw him a low fastball. But Nick Martin did just that. And Kepler put a charge in it. Really, really pretty swing. And again, this is in Max's wheelhouse too. Tries to come in, gets it down, and not in far enough. Tries to look like he was trying to throw a little cutter there, and the ball didn't cut.
Kepler's last home run, July 3rd against Alex Meyer. So it's been a while in coming, but he finally has number 11. And now here's Byron Buxton fouling it back. One strike. Buxton with a single, a stolen base, and a run scored in last night's game. That was the extent of the Twins' offense. Outside, 1-1.
You know, I was going to say after the first inning, from a position player standpoint, you come in after the first inning, the starting pitcher's giving up 5 runs, and your attitude really needs to be, okay, let's win this game 10-8. Let's just make up our minds. It's going to be a slugfest, and let's figure it out. Let's have good at bats. Let's get guys on base. My attitude was always, you know, something like that happened. We don't have to try to tie up the 5 runs right away. We're going to score 10 runs today. Let's score 10 or 11. Let's just hit.
Down the line, foul. Well, important to remind yourself, based on the events of the last 2 weeks, it does work the other way too. The Twins have put up big numbers in the early innings and seen the leads, disappear by the middle or late innings. It works the opposite just as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
2-2 to Buxton. With the rain picking up in intensity, and then Martinez drops one on the outside corner. It's coming down pretty hard right now, but if you have high-def television, you can see it. You'll probably see it if you just have standard definition. Castro shaking the water drops off the bill of his helmet. And ball 1 to Castro.
I think you could see this rain if you had a 1958 black and white Philco.
With rabbit ears. You ever have a TV set with rabbit ears?
You betcha.
Yeah. And now 2-0.
Yeah, that was fun. You keep adjusting the rabbit ears. If that didn't work, you pounded the top of the TV.
You and I are old enough to remember when you turned the TV on. It started in a little dot, and then the screen was illuminated. Then when you turned it on,
I was so young when I saw that.
Lifted foul.
Well, I will tell you that my uncle Gene Mock and his family had the first color television in our whole extended family, and we would be invited for dinner on Sunday nights so that we could watch the Wonderful World of Disney in color.
Yep. 3-1, and we're getting to the point where we might not be able to complete this half inning. They're trying. Martinez isn't helping things along. We can see clearing skies just outside the ballpark. But again, I do not have my AMS seal of approval. And they're going to stop play right now. I was right for a change.
The seal's in the mail.
And the tarp will come on, and After a 45-minute rain delay last night, we will have an interruption within the game here today. Twins got on the board at least. It's 5-2, but at 2:02 in the afternoon here, we will have a stoppage of play. So while they expertly put the tarp on the field here, we're going to take a break and we'll start our rain delay coverage momentarily with the Rangers up 5-2. during a rain delay, but it stopped raining. And in fact, the sun is trying to break through the clouds. And Nick Martinez is out there on the mound, and this rain delay will last about 30 minutes. And Martinez, who was trying to work his way through the second inning, will face Jason Castro with a 3-1 count when we resume play. All right, fans go back. They seek some cover. What can you guys do in a half an hour? You can't really get into a card game, can you, for a half an hour?
No, and there would be a little communication about how long they expect it to last. In this case, not long. So you sit for a while, then you stretch a little bit, then you take some swings in the cage underneath off a tee, or just some little flips maybe. The most important thing is to make sure your muscles are still loose and you're stretched out, because when the grass is a little slick, or the infield dirt is a little bit softer, you can pull something pretty easily on the turf giving away just a little bit, your foot slipping. So just be good and loose when you go back out there.
Well, let's get the big story as we get ready to resume, and let's get the big story from Audra Martin.
Guys, the big story is the unreal streak the LA Dodgers are on. They have won 12 of their last 13 games and 43 of their last 50. So that's the best 50-game stretch in Major League Baseball since the New York Giants back in 1912. So if you're keeping track, that's a whopping 46 games now. They are above 500. They're on pace to finish with the second best record ever in baseball. It's really been such an incredible season so far for the Dodgers.
Yeah, and the West Coast road trip the Twins were on, of course, started in Los Angeles against the Dodgers, and maybe this will offer some comfort to Twins fans. In the last 5 weeks, the Dodgers have only lost to one team, the Atlanta Braves. The Braves, of all people, have beaten the Dodgers 3 times. They've beaten everybody else in every game in the last 5 weeks. That's absolutely incredible.
It is astonishing, and it's actually pretty fun to watch when you have a lot of players, and when you get in a hot streak like that with that complete a team, everybody's feeling that good, boy, this kind of thing can happen. This is historic, not usually this good, but it's fun to watch a good team playing with that much confidence.
Oh, and since the Twins saw them, they added the former Texas ace, Yu Darvish.
Yep.
Well, the count is 3-1 to Castro. The Twins have started a comeback with a 2-run home run by Max Kepler earlier this inning, about 35 minutes ago.
Boy, if I were Jason Castro, I would want to ambush Nick Martinez right here. Get fastball right down the middle. Get ready to go. Cheat on it. Get ready to go. There it is.
And he fouled it back. Theory being he doesn't want to walk him to start the resumption, right? So
I mean, just throwing some warm-up pitches. It's almost like the first pitch of the game again. But you've already seen a bunch of pitches as a hitter. Get ready to ambush him. You just couldn't quite square that one up.
And then he foul tips that one. So after a 32-minute rain delay, Castro strikes out, 2 down, and that'll bring up Polanco. You can see some broken clouds, some blue sky out there. So as rain delays go, kind of an inconvenience, but hopefully we'll be able to bring you the rest of the day. Now Barrios is in the dugout, and the delay for him will be a little bit longer because it happened in the bottom of the inning. So his delay started with the end of the second inning before the Grossman at bat and the single that resulted. 1-0 to Polanco. 2-0. With Dozier on deck.
I think the delay is not the 30-minute delay, not so bad for a young guy like Jose Barrios. 30 minutes until you start warming up again, not too bad.
And a strike now, 3-1.
And hopefully it'll be like a complete reset, like the first inning never happened. And when he goes back out there, he's got better command than he did when he start the game originally.
Gave up a harmless double in the second inning. And now Polanco takes a walk.
Good at bat there by Jorge Polanco. Been swinging a lot of bad pitches lately, which added to his troubles. And we watched what Brian Dozier has done recently and also in his career. A really solid leadoff hitter for jumping his team out to an early lead. See, only Charlie Blackmon has hit more leadoff home runs.
Looking for number 20 on the season with a man aboard and 2 down, and he takes down and away ball 1.
Missed a couple of fastballs right there his first time up. See if he can get one of those again and square it up. Kind of surprised. Brian looked like he was in a really nice groove when he had a 2 home run day the other night. And see if he can get himself a fastball to hit again.
Up high, Polanco back safely, and now it's 2-0 to Dozier. One area where Brian's numbers are going to be way down this year, the runs scored department. Brian scored over 100 runs in each of the last 3 years, and this year he's on a pace to score 70-75 runs. That's a pretty big drop off for a leadoff batter.
Well, a couple of reasons for that. Obviously, the Twins have not been scoring as prolifically lately, but Brian counted for 42 of his runs scored last year just by himself, trotting around the bases.
Driven to left. He's got number 20.
Yeah, he got the one that he had missed before.
And the Twins jump back in the game with a pair of 2-run home runs. It's 5-4.
Well, as I said, I was just really surprised that Brian missed the pitches he missed in his first time up. Did a good job laying off 2 balls outside the strike zone. Knows he's going to get a fastball 2-0. Got the same ones he had missed, but didn't miss that one. Absolutely squared this one. Watch where this pitch is. Right there. Kind of middle of the zone from height-wise, just inside, right where Brian would like to see it. Gives him a chance just to throw the big end of the bat out there.
And now Bauer takes a strike on the outside corner. So before the rain delay, Kepler hit a 2-run home run. And now after the rain delay, Dozier with a 2-run home run. And Bauer takes outside 1-1. Before we get too far away from the rain delay, a figurative tip of the cap to the grounds crew. Did a great job getting this field ready to go again. All the run scoring here in the early innings on home runs. Martinez has got a weird game going here. All 5 outs he's gotten have come via strikeouts. Every ball that's been put in play has been put in play safely. Two and 2. He struck out the side in the first inning, issuing a walk to Mauer. And he struck out Buxton and Castro earlier this inning. That's to left. And Mazzara will reach down and make the catch ankle high. Kepler hitting his 11th. Dozier hitting his 20th. And the Twins are back in the game. runs. Max Kepler with a 2-run home run. Brian Dozier with a 2-run home run. Twins are down a run because Beltre hit a 3-run home run and Gallo hit a 2-run home run for Texas, and we're just now crawling into the 3rd inning. It'll be Beltre leading off the 3rd. Paul Molitor came out after the bottom of the 2nd inning, talked with home plate umpire Marty Foster about Berrios getting a little extra time to get loose, and the umpire granted him that allowance. So Berrios just finishing his warm-up tosses now.
Paul Molitor hoping that Berrios can use the rain delay to calm himself down a little bit, kind of reset, find his command of the strike zone with those 3 big league pitches he has. Hold the Texas Rangers right there. Let his guys score a bunch of runs.
Pitched a scoreless 2nd inning, and now he'll pitch through the middle of the Texas lineup. Beltre, Odor, and Napoli. Just off the outside corner, ball 1. Castro wondering where that pitch was.
I am too.
Fly ball to center field, and it'll hang up there to give Byron Buxton plenty of time to come in and make the catch in short center. Sun coming out, as you can see. Sunglasses are on. Quite a change from a half hour ago. 1 down, and now Odor. You had it easy, man. As an infielder, they take such careful time and getting the field ready, the infield ready. The dirt has to be just, right and dry and all that. Outfielders, they run them out there and they can sink in up to their ankles, and you just got to keep playing, right?
That's so easy out there. You just stand out there and think about your hitting stroke.
Ball 1. Well, this field in particular drains so.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. When they roll the tarp off, they dump the water in short left field, and you can see it pool up as soon as the tarp is taken off the field. And then you look 30 seconds later, and there's no water left on the field. It's unbelievable how quickly it drains.
Put all those drains there where they. I mean, it's really a cool system where they dump the water right over the drains, and away it goes.
Well, it goes into the tanks, and then it's reprocessed to, hose down the seating section after the game. 1 and 2 to Odor.
Well, you were talking about the outfielders sloshing around, but here you really don't see that. They run. In the old days, old ballparks, you'd see that.
Down and in, and that got a piece of Castro.
Slides to his right, and it got right up high on the knee, like just on the inside part of the shin guard, I think, on the knee pad there. Almost in the area we know where you get you have kind of a funny bone, kind of a crazy bone on the inside part of your knee. Ever been hit there? And your knee kind of, you lose feeling in your leg.
Odor strikes out, 2 down. I'm trying to think whether I have.
You obviously don't have. I mean, when you're pitching in fantasy camp, they hit all those bullets back at you and never hit you in the knee.
They usually hit out to the outfield at least.
There's a good fastball right there to get Odor, and so far, as we're kind of hoping for Berrios, a little better command.
2 down, and now Napoli, who was hit by a pitch, a breaking ball, and then Gallo hit his tape measure shot. Down and away, ball 1. We talked during Cologne's complete game here the other night how he had a rough first inning and then found something and rode it all the way to the end. Now that won't happen for Berrios because of the pitch count, but they'd like to see the same approach here. All right, I had my bad inning, I can't do anything about it. Now let's get into a groove and at least try to give my team 6 innings.
And the corollary to that, it's all about the mental framework for Berrios being more like Cologne's. Just don't get excited. Big Sexy wasn't worried.
No.
He scored 2 runs, but he said, no, that's okay. So I threw a couple balls in the middle of the plate. I'm going to keep throwing my fastball, keep trying to hit the corners, and what it's going to be, what it's going to be.
Pulled foul, and that I think hit the railing and not the Texas player, but somebody bailed at the last instant who was right at the railing. And I guess it almost got Adrian Beltre.
Oh, I hope not.
All I saw was a blue blur retreat from the railing, and I hope it didn't hit him. And Napoli strikes out, and Barrios on the other side of the rain delay has a quick 1-2-3 inning. You're watching Twins baseball, presented by State Farm. Presented by Northland Ford. Visit buyfordnow.com and your local Northland Ford dealer today. By Grand Casino. The best stories start here. And by Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. Twins trying to dig their way out of a 5-0 hole. It's 5-4, and Eduardo Escobar will lead off the home half of the third. Then Rosario and Grossman. And an awkward swing. Poor swing by Escobar. 1-1.
Yeah, Eduardo Escobar is a little confused right now. He's a little messed up at the plate. You don't normally see him swing at the bad pitches that he has. He swung at a ball up and out, fastball up high out of the strike zone last time, and then chased that breaking ball. But the Twins hitters really need, as I said before, they need to treat this like we have to score 10 runs. Let's just assume the Rangers are going to get 6 or 7 or 8 runs in this game. We have to score 10. So everybody get good pitches to hit and do something with it.
2-1 to Escobar. Fouled back 2-2. Martinez in his third stint with the Rangers this year, gone back and forth between the big league club and Round Rock, their AAA affiliate. Two and two. And he took it up high. To left center. That's hit pretty well. Gomez, short of the track, makes the catch. 1 down. And before Rosario's at bat, Target Field's a great place to spend time with the people who are important to you. Groups of 25 or more are eligible for discounts on tickets, and per ticket fees are eliminated. You can arrange your group of 25 plus today by visiting twinsbaseball.com/groups or call 800-33-TWINS and ask about a Twins Target Field group outing. Here's Rosario, struck out swinging to end the first inning. Martinez, before he threw his first pitch, had a 5-0 lead, and the Twins have got 4 back. You hit cleanup quite a bit of for quite a bit of your big league career with the Twins in the late 70s, early 80s. It shouldn't change your mindset, should it? That much?
No, it really shouldn't. You're the kind of hitter that you are, and you have to be that hitter. The manager put you there. It's not you didn't put yourself there. The manager put you there, and you figure, well, if he's putting me there because of the way he thinks I'm going to hit, then that's the way I'm going to hit.
Yeah.
I'm just going to hit the way I do. And the problem is mentally for a lot of guys. All of a sudden, you think you're supposed to do something different, and you really don't need to. And you really should not.
Deep to right field. The cleanup hitter has tied the game.
You're supposed to do that.
Three home runs, and the Twins have covered up the 5-0 hole.
You just never know where Eddie Rosario is going to hit the ball, or that pitch could have gone anywhere in the field. I've seen it go all over the field. This particular time, he sees it really well, high fastball, and just buggy whips it. Sweeping the big end of the bat through the zone in a hurry and powering it over the right field fence.
And a reprieve, and a big one for Jose Barrios. Now the game is tied. Grossman started the comeback with a leadoff single to left field in the second inning.
Go ahead and ambush this guy now before they get the bullpen ready. Throw another 2-spot up there.
Off-speed pitch tickles the outside corner, 1-1. Out in front, it's dribbled foul. Well, Martinez didn't have a really good outing in his return to the Rangers. In his last start against Seattle, 5 1/3 innings, 8 hits, 7 earned runs, just 1 home run allowed. This one hit to right field, and Chu goes back and leaps and makes the catch right in front of the fence. Grossman waited on an off-speed pitch, had to generate all of the power he could, and he comes up just short of the wall.
A really nice swing here by Grossman, and a nice catch. He tracking the warning track and the fence the whole way. Reaches up to the last second, makes the catch.
And now Kepler, who hammered a home run to start the Twins comeback. Another fastball, and he fouled it back.
Yep, and that one up in the strike zone. That's not Max's strength right there. The low fastball is he's really good. High fastball, not as much.
He takes ball 1. Austin Bibbins Dirks warming up. Martinez has given back all of a 5-run lead. Waiting and swinging through an off-speed pitch. It's 1-2. Down and away.
Max has seen all the pitches now. Everything he's got: fastball, curveball, and right there was a changeup. See where he goes now, 2-2.
Sharply hit. And Gallo picks it up, makes a nice play, eventually gloving it and throwing out Kepler, who hit it very solidly for the 3rd out. Twins tie it up on the Rosario home run. Eddie Rosario with a home run to tie the game at 5. The Rangers jumped out to a 5-0 lead when Gallo hit a 2-run home run back in the first inning. He'll lead off the 4th. Barrios hits the outside corner with a breaking ball. Strike 1. Gallo, Gomez, and Chirinos here in the 4th. One and one.
It's really important to stay above the swing plane of Joey Gallo's swing plane. You stay away from him, and you can get above his bat. He's a
ground ball to Dozier, 1 away.
Low ball hitter. When he gets it low in the middle of the strike zone, he can hit it a long ways, as we saw in the first inning.
Gallo retired. Gomez will hit. He struck out swinging his first time up. Rangers chasing 3 teams in the American League West: Houston, Seattle, and Los Angeles. Houston a runaway leader in the division. Seattle a game above 500, and today they made a move. They got Yonder Alonso from the A's for Boog Powell. Trying to bunt. Strike 1. Not the infamous Boog Powell of the 60s and the 70s, but another prospect that the Mariners had by the name of Boog Powell. One strike to Gomez.
It's a nice move for Yonder Alonso. Leave Oakland, get up there in the lineup with a bunch of really good hitters. There's no secret. You have the more good hitters you have in the lineup, the better all those hitters become. Nice curveball there.
Wow. Gomez frozen for a called 3rd strike. 2 down, and Barrios is sent down 6 in a row.
And what a difference a rain delay makes. All of a sudden he's got real good command of that breaking ball again. Capped off by the best one there, right there for strike 3.
Chirinos hit a fly ball to Buxton his first time up. The Mariners are leading Kansas City 7-5 in the 6th. That's the first of a doubleheader. Got rained out yesterday. Strike 1. And Alonso won't join the team on the road. Well, he will, but the Mariners' next stop is in Oakland, so he's going to stay in Oakland and just go to the visiting clubhouse. And what a pleasure that'll be. If he thought the home clubhouse was a little.
The good news is you're out of the home clubhouse. The bad news is now about 5 times a year you got to go to the visiting clubhouse.
Chirinos swings and misses. It's changed now because of Progressive Field, but I had a former Indian tell me earlier this year that, when he got traded to Cleveland, he said, well, the one bright spot is I don't have to make any more road trips to Cleveland.
Hey, I'm going to tell you what, you should have seen the visiting clubhouse in old Cleveland.
Oh, I was there. Yeah. Snap back, and Barrios will end it himself. Really good inning for Barrios. Reinvigorated because it's a tie game now. all the firepower provided by home run.
Home run derby today in the first inning. Adrian Beltre with a 3-run shot, followed by Joey Gallo's monster blast. About 440 feet to right field. The Rangers would have a 5-0 lead. But the Twins come back. Max Kepler with a 2-run laser into the second deck there at right center. Then Brian Dozier, who's been hot with a home run bat lately, gets one. And Eddie Rosario gets one. Kepler 2-run home run, Dozier 2-run home run. Rosario game-tying solo shot, and that's where we are. 5-5 in the bottom of the fourth.
Byron Buxton will lead off the bottom of the fourth. Push bunt. And that's going to be a base hit. He bunted it way too hard, and Napoli couldn't get there. That's how hard it was. He was trying to push it up in front of Napoli, and Napoli had to move laterally and didn't catch it. That's the hardest bunt single I've ever seen.
Well, it's some of the best contact Byron's made in a while too. But the thing that I love about Byron when he hits the ball on the ground, however, is how the infielders panic knowing who's running. It's really humorous for me to watch. Humorous to me when I watch it.
So the leadoff man is on, and Buxton's speed will be a weapon, one would hope. Castro at the plate. His at bat started before a 32-minute rain delay and it ended in a strikeout afterward. And Buxton stole second last night and went to third on Chirinos's throwing error. The ball rolls away, and Buxton thought about it. If that ball had gotten out of the grass onto the warning track, Buxton would have been gone.
Yeah, no problem. Twins have seen Martinez before. They should have a pretty good record of what the speed is, what his speed, delivery speed is to the plate. They've had the stopwatch on him.
Buxton started but stopped, and Castro takes a strike. Now you hit behind Carew a lot. Rodney was a good.
I hit in front of Rodney most of the time.
Most of the time,
yeah.
okay. But when you had a base stealer on during your at bat, did you find yourself getting more fastballs?
1978, hitting in front of Rod Carew. I led the team in sacrifice bunts and home runs. So yes, I got a whole bunch of fastballs to hit.
Buxton dives back again.
Well, you're talking about hitting behind a base stealer, and it really depends. Depends on the caliber of the pitcher and the catcher. Depends on the pitcher's move. That's a quick slide step there.
Castro fouls it to the second level here.
It's a real art hitting behind a great base stealer. Growing up in L.A., I watched Maury Wills in the Dodger lineup, and Maury Wills, of course, stole 104 one year. Jim Gilliam hit behind him, and watching Gilliam's at bats behind with Maury Wills on first was just an art form. He would take a ton of pitches. He was unselfish. He'd allow himself to go to 2 strikes. He was such a good handler of the bat that when Wills finally stole, then he was able to hit the ball behind him, get him over to third. That was a big part of the Dodger offense.
Buxton's 18 out of 19 in stolen base attempts. And Castro takes it in the dirt, and a nice pickup by Chirinos. Breaking ball in the dirt, and if he juggles it at all, Buxton might have taken off. Buxton was thrown out in Baltimore. That's how long ago it was.
He'll be watching here. He'll be watching the front leg of the right-handed pitcher, the left leg of Nick Martinez, and watching for if he picks it up is when he wants to go. The slide step, he'll stay. If he picks it up, then that's the delivery he's going to want to go. Of course, the manager Paul Molitor is thinking, okay, it's 1 and 2. Is he going to pitch out? Would they risk a pitch out here?
Stole a base in San Diego the other day on an 0-2 pitch, and the Padres did not pitch out. Castro takes down and away. Now it's 2-2. Twins played the Orioles in Baltimore in the middle of May, and Buxton was thrown out in that series, and that's the only time he's been thrown out this year. Two and two. 3-2. Now a real good chance that Buxton will take off here.
And I think just because of his superior speed, Jason Castro has a bunch of strikeouts this year. He's prone to the strikeout. But I think with 3-2 with Byron's speed, I think Paul will send it.
There he goes. And the pitch hit to center. Going back is the center fielder Gomez. That ball is caught at the wall. Gomez crashes into the center field fence. Castro just missed, giving the Twins the lead.
And Carlos Gomez always been a really good defensive center fielder, and he makes a terrific play here. Gets back, great knowledge of where the fence is, tracks the ball all the way, great concentration.
He didn't rob a home run, he just made a really good catch.
He made a really good catch. As Buxton will score for sure if he doesn't make that catch. Castro certain double. That's a big league play.
Now Polanco at the plate. Polanco drew a walk and scored his first time up. Now with one out, we'll see if Buxton gets a little more aggressive here. Polanco drops down a bunt, and Chirinos throws him out. Buxton's at second base, but now they're 2 down. Fox Sports North is partnering with Girls on the Run to find responsible, enthusiastic males and females to serve as volunteer coaches. Volunteer coaches come from all walks of life and do not need to be runners. Most important criteria is being a positive role model and demonstrating a dedication to Girls on the Run core values of inclusivity, optimism, and gratitude. Learn more at gotrtwincities.org/coach. I got to use that word inclusivity in some other context. I'm going to use it later in this broadcast because it's the only time I've ever said the word reading that promo. Buxton at second, 2 down. Down and away, ball 1. Four years now of 20 or more home runs for Brian Dozier, and he's climbing the charts. He's 11th all time in Twins home runs. And hit the inside corner, 1-1. Dozier hit 42 last year, 28 the year before that, 23 the year before that, 18 the year before that. So the home run numbers have been growing, but that will stop this year. Chopped to third. Gallo firing on the run, and Napoli keeps a foot on the bag, and Buxton's left at second base to the 5th, 9-4. presented by Chevrolet, the #1 selling brand in the Twin Cities. Turning into a pleasant afternoon. We've had a rain delay. We've had a 5-0 deficit. Now we've got a tie game. And we head to the 5th inning. Brian Dozier hitting his 20th home run of the season as part of the comeback. And it's an example of inclusivity, because he has joined a list of 9 players now. There were 8, but now Brian, because of the inclusivity, has made it a 9-player list of Twins who've hit 20 home runs in 4 years or more, including Harmon Killebrew, Kent Hrbek, Tom Bernansky, Bob Allison, Justin Morneau, Jimmy Hall, Gary Gaetti, and Torrey Hunter. Up the middle, a base hit for Chu, his 2nd hit of the ball game. The leadoff man is on, breaking a string of 7 straight batters retired by Jose Barrios. 80 pitches for Barrios, but 41. I was going to say 38. I had thought I'd written it down, but it's 41 pitches in the 1st inning, and he's been much better ever since. Andrus with a strikeout in the 1st and a double in the 2nd. Breaking ball, missing low, 1-0. Beltre in the dugout, apparently ready to hit 4th this inning if given the opportunity. He was the player who apparently was hit by that foul ball off the bat of Mike Napoli a couple innings ago. Barrios fields his position well and does a nice job controlling the running game. Just 5 attempts, 3 successful.
He is a pretty good athlete on the mound. Bounces around. He's got very, very strong athletic legs. Very lithe body.
And now 2-0.
I've always thought that there were 3 things that a pitcher could do besides having great stuff and location and all that could really help him win games. And those 3 things are field your position well, hold runners on well, and don't walk people. And to the degree that pitchers can do those 3 things, it makes the rest of their job, their normal job, a lot easier.
There's a strike on the outside corner. Same pitch, same spot. Dialing it up to 96.
Yeah, that was nasty right there. 96 on the corner.
Andrus was a strikeout victim in the 1st inning. Now Barrios has painted the outside corner twice in this at bat. Trevor Hildenberger getting loose. He's off the breaking ball, and it's a full count.
You know, there's an example of the game, the cat and mouse, and the battle between the pitcher and the hitter. Sometimes a pitcher will get a hitter set up, and if they can throw the pitch, a certain pitch, they've got him set up. He had him set up for that breaking ball right there, and if he could have thrown it close enough, he's got him. And then you let the hitter, by not throwing it for a strike, you let him back in the at bat, just like that. Then you have. Now when you throw the breaking ball, it's 2 strikes. You can't throw your real aggressive one. You let it hang over. That's the 2nd breaking ball in the middle of the plate that Andrus has hit for a base hit. The first one was a double left center. Last at bat. But he had him 2-2. He absolutely had him 2-2. So here's the pitch sequence. He starts him with a curveball and then burns him twice on the outside part, and then that 2-2 curveball that that he threw too far outside, led Andrus back in the count 3-2, and then he had to throw a strike. And Andrus' swing is hot right now. Not going to miss those breaking balls right in the middle. But almost invariably, you get a hitter set up, and there's one pitch. If you could just throw it in the spot, you're thinking you've got him. And if you don't, you let him back in the count, and you know, bad things can happen.
Chu took off on the pitch. Andrus got his single. Chu checked in at second, and now the batter is Mazara. 0 for 1 with a walk. Berrios getting ahead with a fastball. Tapper, Dozier flags it down and flips to first. Looked at second, but got the out at first. Second and third, one down for Beltre.
Bryant had the right idea, trying to keep the double play in order by getting the runner at second base on the force. But he was in an awkward position to throw it. Had to throw a long way back to second base. Beltre in the first inning, a big blow from the Rangers right away, jumped on Jose Berrios for a 3-run home run.
Twins will bring the infield in here for Beltre. Chu and Andrus have each singled. They're in scoring position now for the designated hitter. And Berrios gets ahead with a fastball. Bouncer to short. They'll come home and get the out there. Good play by Polanco, and Castro laid the tag on. Chu trying to score on the ground ball hit right to the shortstop.
You know, that looked like a routine ground ball to the shortstop only because it was right at him, but he made a really nice play. The ball was hit hard, and he got an in-between hop that he couldn't really read. He had to stay with the hop coming up and then get a handle on the throw right away. See, the ball comes up on him, but he stays with it, gets a good grip, and sort of off balance, makes a nice throw to the plate. Very nice play.
You know, it gives you some idea. I mean, that takes some arm strength because his body was retreating on the ground ball, and he was still able to get the throw to home plate in time.
You're exactly right. His body had to retreat a little bit because of that in-between hop. He couldn't move in to catch it, or he really would have gotten eaten up. He had to catch it first, and to do that, he had to back it, get his weight going backwards just a little bit to catch that in-between hop, and then he had enough arm to throw him out. That's a nice play.
First and third, 2 down, and ball 1 to Odor, who has struck out twice. Berrios on the verge of pitching out of this jam in the 5th and keeping it a tie game. Fly ball right center field, and Kepler under it. Nice job by Jose Berrios, keeping this a tie game at 5.
Fifth inning, we're now inside the Minnesota State Lottery Winners Circle with Jackson, Cecilia, and Sue from Rochester, along with 33 members of your family, all here for a very special reason.
We are. Thank you.
What are you guys here celebrating?
We are celebrating the memory of my dad. He passed away in January, and we thought he loved baseball. Why not come here and celebrate him? So we have all 5 of us kids and spouses, my mom. We have 13 of the 15 grandchildren live around the area.
Well, Bert is off for the day, so Roy Smalley will be circling everyone in honor of your father. We really appreciate you guys inviting us up here, and hopefully he's smiling down. Absolutely. Well, we're also going to give you $100 worth of scratch-off tickets for the Minnesota Lottery. Enjoy the day, guys. Enjoy honoring what a special man. Yep, guys.
All right, thank you, Audra. Jose Barrios with the 5-run first inning, and he's recovered nicely to complete 5. By all indications, he's done for the day. Got a big embrace from Neil Allen, the pitching coach, so I'm thinking he's done for the day. And Bauer will start the bottom of the 5th inning. No activity in the Twins bullpen. Bauer, Escobar, and Rosario in the 5th. Facing a new Texas pitcher. Austin Bibbins Dirks pitched here on Friday night. Last 2 innings, gave up a couple of hits. No runs. Down and away, 2-1. Yankees beat Cleveland 8-1.
Bibbins Dirks doesn't appear to have anything real special. A little sinking fastball, breaking ball. See if the Twins can. The big thing about guys like this, you just have to get good pitches to hit. You just lay off of those kind of pitches that are on the outside part of the strike zone. Try and get something in the middle. Be patient, get good balls to hit. Ted Williams, that was rule number 1 for him. Get a good ball to hit.
See why Joe has so many deep counts. Takes a lot of pitches. Second in baseball to Matt Carpenter. And he's just taking a leadoff walk here in the 5th. That'll bring up Escobar with a man aboard. MLB.TV Premium is back better than ever. You can watch every out-of-market regular season game live on over 400 supported devices. Plus, get a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. Here is Escobar. Strikeout and a fly ball to center. Strike over the inside corner. The Indians got beat. Another disappointing start for Carlos Carrasco. 5 earned runs in 5 1/3 innings. Tap to the right side. Napoli will get the lead runner. There'll be no return throw, and Escobar reaches on a fielder's choice. Carrasco's last start against Chris Sale, he had a 5-0 lead and didn't get out of the 2nd inning. Here is Rosario, who hit a home run to tie the game in the 3rd. And he's had 24 multi-hit games in this 5th inning at bat. He'll look for another multi-hit game.
Well, he's good at getting more than one hit in the ball game. He's also a really good extra base hitter. He's got a lot of power to all parts of the ballpark. We saw him hit one to right field earlier to tie the game. But he can throw some doubles up there. He can hit balls in the gaps and off the walls and all over the ballpark.
21 doubles on the year, couple of triples, 11 home runs. One of the ways I like to look at a hitter, if he has an extra base hit for every 10 at bats, that's pretty good if you can do that. It's another way of, I guess, looking at slugging percentage and on base plus slugging. But Rosario's got 339 at bats and 34 extra base hits. So he's right on that average. Swing and a miss, and it's 0-2.
Another way that I have looked at it is if a third of a hitter's hits are for extra bases,
right,
which is similar to what you're saying. But Rosario is also close in that category as well.
Miguel Sano, for instance, 371 at bats, and he's got 41 extra base hits. 2 strikes to Rosario, and now 1-2.
And he's got 96 hits, 34 extra base hits, so slightly better than a third.
Max Kepler's got 36 extra base hits, 37 now with the home run, and 364 at bats. 1-2. Twins trying to take the lead after falling behind 5-0 before they got to the bat rack. Down and away, and it's 2-2.
Good pitch there. Pitcher and catcher wanted that one. That's a pitch that a pitcher really wants to have. Gets a guy set up. He thinks he's set up for a little change up, and he throws it right there on the corner. Doesn't get the call. That makes it difficult on a pitcher when he doesn't get that pitch called. We've seen it on both sides.
2-2. And Escobar in a close play gets back.
Chirino setting up inside underneath Eddie's hands with his target. Means a fastball's coming. They're going to try to go in and out and back and forth on 2 consecutive pitches here. So they threw him a changeup on the outside corner, something soft. Now that at least the last time they set up inside.
Escobar goes. Rosario swings through it, and Escobar has a stolen base. So a strikeout, but on the play, Escobar is able to swipe second base.
And they changed what they wanted to do. They were going to come in, and then after the throw over, they changed it back to a changeup.
Mentioned this last night on our Sanford Health Injury Report. A tough blow for the Mariners, losing Felix Hernandez with right bicep tendonitis. Second time he's been on the disabled list, and his numbers un-King-like to begin with. With ERA over 4, just 5 wins on the season. 2 down, and now Grossman. Single and a line out to right. Over the inside corner with a breaking ball.
Robbie's had 2 really good at bats. Line drive, single left, and he went with the pitch on the outside part of the plate. Got a base hit to left field the first time up, second time up. Got a curveball. Hit it well right to the right field wall. Shin-Soo Choo made a nice play on him. See if he can have one more good at bat here and find a hole.
To right. Going back is Choo. This one he'll play off the wall. Grossman digging for second. The runner coming home. He is out, but the run will score. That was difficult to watch because with one eye we were watching the throw and the runner to second, and with the other eye watching Escobar, who busted it around third and we think just barely crossed the plate. Now both managers are contemplating a challenge here.
Choo plays it very well. One hop off the wall, throws a bullet there. They tag Grossman out.
I think Grossman's safe at second.
Looks like he's safe. And
now
Escobar was busting it around. You see Eddie seeing the throw there. He knows he's got to run through. Eddie, run harder, Eddie.
I don't believe the play at the plate can be challenged. I'm going to look it up. So at the very least, the run will score, and we'll see if the Twins challenge the play at second.
It sure looked like Grossman got his foot into second base before the tag. It was a very close play.
I believe the Twins are challenging the call at second, but I don't believe Jeff Bannister has any option but to accept the call at home plate. Well, you described that. I'm going to go through.
Very, very close. Eddie has Eduardo Escobar has to touch the plate before the tag is made at second base in order for his run to count, and it looked like he just barely did. I thought Robbie was safe at second base anyway, so it would be a moot point.
As it is, the run counts. Home plate. The home plate umpire Marty Foster made that emphatic call that he touched home plate before the out, and I don't believe the play at the plate is reviewable.
Well, I got to believe if it was, that Jeff Bannister would be asking for the review.
Now Grossman is coming back to the dugout with Jeff Smith. The run counts, so that was reviewed.
Wow.
The review was not at second base.
Yep.
And the challenge was made on the run scoring, and it did score. The Twins have the lead. You're watching Twins baseball presented by State Farm. Fans of the game have seen the Twins come back from 5-0 to take a 6-5 lead. A lot going on here in the middle innings, and one of them is with Escobar scoring just ahead of the out made at second base. Brian Dozier's out of the game, and A-Ray Adrianza's in at second base. Dozier's last at bat was in the 4th inning. Made a nice play on a ground ball in the top of the 5th. Trevor Hildenberger out of the pen in relief of Jose Barrios, who right now is the pitcher of record. Strike one to Napoli.
Hopefully Hildenberger and the rest of the bullpen can do a good job against the Rangers. Twins can score a few more runs. It'd be poetic justice to get Jose Barrios a win in a game where he gave up 5 runs in the first after getting a loss when he was dominant in San Diego's last time out.
0-2 to Napoli. And Napoli stands there and gets hit by an 0-2 pitch. Hildenberger hitting his 3rd batter, and the lead man is on here in the 6th inning. So Napoli get hit by a breaking ball in last night's game. Here's Gallo with a man aboard. Twins swing. Shortstop Polanco to the right side of the infield, and there's a breaking ball for strike 1.
This is a dangerous matchup right here with Hildenberger being a sinker ball, sidearm sinker ball pitcher, one who wants to keep the ball down, and Joey Gallo being a low ball hitting machine. They're trying to throw it up high.
It's to left, but hit right at Rosario.
Yeah, it's a good job by a pitcher who normally wants to keep the ball down, but you just can't throw it down to Joey Gallo. Got him upstairs.
Let's get today's showstopper from Audra Martin.
Guys, it was quite the day at the plate for Chris Young against the Chicago White Sox this afternoon. It all started with a solo shot over the Green Monster, so you know that's a bomb. But then he would follow that one up with an RBI double and then another home run in the game. 5 RBI for Young today, all coming off of Mike Pelfrey. And in the end, it's Boston with a 6-3 win over the White Sox, guys.
Yeah, Mike Pelfrey, the starter for the White Sox, as the Red Sox completed the 4-game sweep. Sharply hit, caught on the fly by Adrianza. Gomez with a line drive picked off at shoe top level for out number 2.
Ball off the end of the bat a little bit and sinking down. Well, you're always thinking in that situation, if I can just figure out a way to make the ball one hop, but you have to catch the ball first.
I suppose as a runner, you just go back to the bag, because if it's,
yeah, you're going to be out.
You're going to be out anyway.
Be out.
You're not going to be able to beat any kind of a play to second base. And the number 9 batter, Chirinos. Getting back to the bottom of the 5th inning. The Twins got the run. They lead at 6-5. We don't believe the Twins used their challenge on the play at second base, so they still have that in the bank. The Rangers challenged the play at the plate, didn't get the call overturned, so they're done until the 8th inning in terms of challenging. And when we get word about Brian Dozier's exit from the game, we'll pass it along to you. So the Twins playing without Sano for the better part of this weekend, and now something has happened to Brian Dozier. 1-1 to Chirinos. Breaking ball. You know, when a player leaves the game in the middle of the game, you think back, well, what did they most recently do? And Brian made that nice reach of a ground ball
right
at the top of the 5th inning. And remember, he looked at second and then threw to first. And maybe something was strained in that motion. 2-1. Inside, nearly hit him again. 3-1. Chu on deck, and Hildenberger really wants to get the job done here and retire the number 9 batter.
Chirino's only hitting .212, but he's got 12 home runs. Got a lot of power. Can't just lay the ball down in the middle of the plate.
There's the outside corner to fill the count. He didn't do it to Napoli, but we've seen him do it with 2 strikes. throw over the top, more over the top, change his arm angle. And more often than not, the right-handed batters just take the pitch because it's not coming out of the arm slot that they expect.
He's got that, and he's got that great changeup.
Full count. Napoli will take off.
You're not used to seeing the two different arm slots that you're mentioning, Dick, his normal sidearm and then over the top. You're also not used to seeing a really, really slow changeup from the sidearm. It doesn't look like he's going back to the fastball, though.
Bounce to second. Adrianza from the outfield grass. To Mauer, and Hildenberger has a scoreless 6. Bush comes out of the Texas bullpen to pitch to the Twins in the 6th inning. Hard-throwing right-hander. He'll face Kepler, Buxton, and Castro. With Adrianza replacing Dozier for an undisclosed reason, that pretty much is in terms of substitutions for Paul Molitor. Twins have 13 pitchers, meaning they have 3 bench players. And one of them, Sano, isn't going to play at all, and the other one's the backup catcher. So what you're seeing now is what you'll get very likely for the balance of the game. Kepler started the Twins comeback with a 2-run home run to the second deck in right field. Tap to the right side. Easy play for Odor. 1 down.
Twins are going to have to dial it up a little bit now against that Bush. He can get it up to the plate here. 96, 97, 98. Good arm.
Bush got a hold in the ball game here Thursday night. Rangers won the game 4-1, and he pitched the 8th inning. Faced 4 batters, gave up 1 hit. Buxton with a bunt single that nearly went into the right field corner.
He got the ball in the sweet part of the bat,
yeah,
that's for sure.
1 strike. Byron also struck out his first time up. A breaking ball lifted foul. Buxton's average about what it was when he came off the disabled list in the rehab assignment. His on-base percentage is .290, which isn't very good. In the minor leagues, he had a really good on-base percentage. And he strikes out on 3 pitches here, 2 down. Byron in his minor league stints prior to this year. He had an on-base percentage of .380. 2 down.
Well, he takes the first pitch, gets a little breaking ball for the second pitch, and then just gets blown away at a 98-mile-an-hour fastball in on him for strike 3.
Castro with 2 down. Castro takes a strike and looks back at home plate umpire Marty Foster. Castro singled against Bush here on Thursday night. One and one. Baltimore beat Detroit 12-3. Anibal Sanchez gave up 4 home runs for the Tigers.
Baltimore can hit some home runs.
Yep. They had just a 5-game winning streak, but a nice winning streak that put them above the 500 mark, and then everyone was considering them to be contenders. Outside 2-1. And the Orioles, with the win today, are still a game below 500 now. Three and 1. Castro struck out in his first at bat. 32 minutes separated strike 1 from strike 3, because it was during Castro's at bat that the tarp was brought onto the field. Then he had a warning track line drive to center field, hauled in by Gomez. 3-1. 3-2. Struck him out. 98 miles per hour. Bush has a 1-2-3 in the 6th inning. Thunk it after it started 5-0.
Well, it started out first 3 innings as home run derby. Beltre with a 3-run home run. Joey Gallo with a bomb 2-run home run. 5-0 Texas. But in the second inning, Kepler with a 2-run shot and Dozier with a 2-run shot made it 5-4. And then the third inning, Eddie Rosario tied the score with a solo home run. Then Robbie Grossman in the 5th inning hit his 3rd line drive of the day, barely scoring Eduardo Escobar from second base before he's tagged out trying to stretch that into a double. And that's where we stand. 6-5 Twins, top of the 7th.
And Trevor Hildenberger, who hit the first batter he faced, but then got the next 3, will face the top of the Texas lineup. Shin-Soo Choo, Elvis Andrus, and Nomar Mazara. Choo with a couple of hits, a run scored, was cut down at the plate when the game was tied in the 5th inning. Polanco with a nice throw. Castro dropped a tag to keep it a 5-5 game. Ball 1, now ball 2. Missing 3-0. Choo's always been very patient at the plate, good plate discipline, draws a lot of walks, and Hildenberger is in danger of doing that here to start the 7th inning. There's a fastball down the middle. Strike 2, clipping the corner.
Right there, some part of the ball got that corner.
And a swinging strikeout. The changeup got him.
Yeah, he's got a great changeup. It's really, really fun to watch. His arm speed is exactly the same on the 2 pitches. His sinker and the sidearm sinker and this sidearm changeup, except this changeup is about 15 miles an hour, maybe more than that, maybe 20 miles an hour. Let's see, what is it, 77, 10 to 12 miles an hour slower than the fastball.
There's a little indictment there. You were California high school math there for a while. Here is Andrus. 2 more hits again in today's game. Changeup floats over. It's enough of a separation to really fool, I would think, with a hitter's mind. You're looking at 87. Ball hit to left center field. Rosario and Buxton converge. And finding the sun. Rosario didn't catch it. Now Buxton's throw to second is not in time. Right before the ball got to him, you could see Rosario struggling with the sun. And instead of it being the second out, Andrus is on base again at second base.
Eddie really fighting it, trying to get to the side of it, so he makes a nice attempt. When the ball gets in the sun like that, you try to turn sideways and see if you can get the ball out of the sun. He does a pretty good job of getting his glove close to it. That ball looked like it got in the sun and just stayed there the whole way down. That's a helpless feeling.
Zara's 0 for 2 with a walk. Andrus gets a double. Missing inside, ball 1. Tying run at second. Missing inside again, 2-0. Pulled hard and foul. Bauer guarding the line, and the chances of Mazara getting a ball between Joe and the right field line aren't very good. 2-1.
Well, they're not all that good, even if Joe were playing off a little bit. He's shown a terrific ability to dive, especially to that side.
Hildenberger almost walked Chu before striking him out. Now he's trying to come back from 3-1 to Mazzara.
You know, that changeup is really an equalizer because he's pretty confident in throwing that any time. There it is. You get a guy in a fastball count like that, 3-1, it shades of Johan Santana. I used to feel like Johan used to get guys 3-1 just because then he knew he could get them out. He'd be unsure 2-1. So here, let me give him 3-1. Then I know he's going to be looking fastball, throwing 2 changeups and striking out. It's kind of the way Hildenberger is.
Beltre on deck. Full count to Mazzara. Through Hildenberger, but to Polanco for out number 2, and Andres goes to third. We've always enjoyed watching Adrian Beltre play, and he had an amusing thing last week. Jerry Davis, a home plate umpire, asked him to move to the on-deck circle, and instead he moved the on-deck circle. He didn't leave Jerry Davis any choice, I don't think. The umpire asked him to do something, and I found it very humorous, but I don't think you can fault Jerry Davis, can you?
I can.
You can?
Yeah, I can.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you throw a Hall of Fame player, you throw
Well,
a key player out, and not because of Hall of Fame, because he's a key player in the game and the lineup. This is not about the umpire getting to assert his authority. If I'm the umpire, I go to the manager and I say, look, I'm going to throw the guy out of the game unless he gets over there in the on-deck circle. I mean, just really right away, just immediately, you can't find the humor in that and say, okay, that's enough, Adrian, stop it.
Well, I think I would have done that. I would have said, all right, you got 10 seconds to put it back and stand where I'm asking you to stand. But, you know.
Well, look at the on-deck circle right now. I mean, is everybody, Odor's not standing there.
No.
Nobody does.
To center field, cut off by Adrianza. Beltre made a bid for a game-tying hit, and Adrianza cut it off for the third out.
Got a nice jump on the ball, gets fully extended, runs it down. Nice play.
Twins leading 6-5, and we pause for God Bless America.
God bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home.
The baseball break before we get to the bottom of the 7th inning. Manny Machado with 4 hits. He's turned it on in the second half. Had a very disappointing first half, and the Orioles romped over the Tigers. Matt Wieters with a grand slam, breaking a tie at Wrigley Field, and Steven Souza Jr. with a walk-off home run. And the Rays only got 2 runs in the series, and they made them stand up in a 2-1 win over the Brewers today. Bernie the Brewer here already. The Brewers play 2 here, then we go to Milwaukee for 2. And the mascot softball game before the game today. That's always a treat for young and old. I enjoyed watching it. Big play. Alex Claudio, the Texas closer, coming in to pitch to the Twins in the 7th. Big play to decide the mascot softball game. The Super America mascot robbing TC of an extra base hit against the center field fence. Here is Polanco to lead off the 7th. Unlike the Twins, the Rangers have just 12 pitchers and only 1 left-handed reliever, and it's Claudio who's been their closer. Jeff Bannister mixing things up here. If the Rangers have a lead to protect late, might see veteran Jason Grilli get a chance. There's a strike in its own, too. We're told Brian Dozier left the game due to illness. He's day to day. Polanco with a walk and a run scored in the 2nd. Then he laid down a bunt. Did not get credit for a sacrifice, but he did advance Buxton from 1st to 2nd. 1-2.
Claudio with that funky delivery. Stands way over on the first base side of the rubber. Leans toward first base, throws back across his body.
Sharply hit and into center field. Polanco with a base hit. And with every hit, the hope is that Polanco further distances himself from basically a 2-month slump. His hits have come right up the middle of the field here for the most part.
Which is a good sign. Waiting to watch the ball a little bit longer. He's swinging at better pitches now than he has. He kind of got himself into that little funk by swinging at bad balls, which he's not really done in the past. And you can talk yourself, you can swing yourself right into a slump by swinging at bad balls and then starting to worry about the fact that you're not getting any hits. It's a crazy thing, this hitting thing. It's crazy.
Here's Adrianza. First plate appearance, squaring to bunt. That was not the motion one would give for a sacrifice bunt situation. Looked like he was trying to bunt for a base hit.
Yep, trying to bunt it to the right side.
Seeing Gallo's arm at third base and in left field. And Adrianza squares and takes ball 1. Taylor Rogers getting loose. He's gotten a couple of good innings from Hildenberger, and now looks like Rogers will get the 8th. And then we'll find out who the closer is today for the Twins. Haven't had a save situation since the trade of Brandon Kintzler. One and one to the Twins' second baseman. And bunted foul. With every bunt attempt, it looked more and more like at least he was trying to sacrifice bunt. The first time it was just a jab, like it was intended to be a base hit. But now he's got 2 strikes.
If I'm Paul Molitor, I'm really frustrated. You see more and more of this. That was 2 things there that prevented him from getting the bunt down. One was a jabbing motion, as you say, with the bat. The other thing is There's no place for you to run. Why run early? You're going to sacrifice them over. You're going to be thrown out. Get the bunt down, and then trot on down to first as they get you out.
And with 2 strikes, there's a throw to second, and they got him. Good throw by Chirinos, off balance. And Polanco is thrown out. And Adrianza's at first on a fielder's choice with 2 strikes. He put it down, but not far enough from home plate.
This is not a very good bunt, but it's an even better play. Very good play by the catcher. Bounces out there, makes an off-balance, running, strong throw to Andres at shortstop to get the lead runner there.
Now Mauer. Outside, ball 1. Back in your base stealing days?
Let me try to think. Let's see. Would that have been Little League? I'm trying to remember when those days were.
Did sidewinders give you any added time to steal a base? Adrianza's 7 for 8 in stolen base attempts.
Yeah, if you can see this move early, then with that delivery, you should be able to steal a base. And these days, everybody's worried about left-handed pitchers and their moves and saying, you know, the left-handers will keep guys closer at first base. The great base stealers of yesteryear, Maury Wills, Lou Brock, those guys said, give me a left-hander. They could read the move on a left-hander, and they almost walked into second base. It was the right-handers that gave them much more problem than left-handers.
High fly, left center field. Gomez back near the track. And Adrianza retreats to the first base bag, but does not advance. 2 down. That'll bring up Escobar. Cancer impacts the lives of everyone in Twins territory. Join us August 30th to show your support for cancer awareness. Supporters purchasing tickets through this special theme night ticket package will receive a Twins cancer awareness hat. The color of the Twins logo on the front of the hat corresponds to the color associated with the most prevalent cancers seen throughout Twins territory. To learn more and to join the Twins in their effort to strike out cancer, visit twinsbaseball.com/cancer awareness. Escobar with Adrianza at first and 2 down. First pitch tapped to third. Gallo, a close play, just got him. Gallo got a soft top out of the dirt near third base, but he made the play, and we go to the 8th.
of America Studio Sports Update. Twins homestand continues tomorrow night when they welcome the Milwaukee Brewers to town. It's the first of two in downtown Minneapolis before the series shifts to Milwaukee. Our coverage starts at 6:30 with Tim Laudner on Twins Live. Dick Bremer and Roy Smalley follow with the series opener.
And the Twins trying to go into that Milwaukee series with a win. Sue Nelson, the outstanding organist here, does such a great job. Twins have a history of great organ players. That includes Ronnie Newman at Met Stadium in the Metrodome years early on. Taylor Rogers pitched last night. He'll come into a more important situation here this afternoon.
Taylor Rogers very, very good against left-handers, is working on trying to get better at getting right-hand hitters out. Got the lineup he's going to face, at least the first three hitters, a bit in his favor. He's going to see left, right, left in Odor, Napoli, and Joey Gallo. So see if he can punish these left-handers and get Napoli out in between.
Odor's 0 for 3. Napoli's 0 for 1. He's been hit by pitches twice, and then Gallo with a home run, a ground ball, and a fly ball. Rogers pitched late in the ball game last night. And that was got a little delay here with some debris in left field. Rosario had an otherwise effective outing, but he hit Gomez with a pitch. Fastball. Gomez stole second and scored an insurance run on a base hit. Gomez would hit fourth this inning. Odor on the first pitch. It's a fair ball, and Mauer to the bag. One pitch, one out.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Minnesota Twins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Minnesota Twins, LLC.
All right, now earlier I read a promo that included the word inclusivity, and then I followed in the next half inning with using that word in a different context. So I want you to think about how you're going to use the word disseminate in the next half inning. Can you do that?
I can do it right now.
All right, go ahead.
Sometimes I get tired of some of this information you've been disseminating to everybody with some of these.
It had to be in the form of an insult. Jeez.
Well, I mean,
we've been working together too long, man. It's been what, a week and a half? One strike. Way out in front. And it's 2 strikes now to Napoli. This is, I think, what we'll see from the late inning relievers. This inning set up better for Rogers than the 9th inning might. High pop-up. If it comes down, it should be caught. Castro gives way to the third baseman, Escobar.
Nice play, Eduardo. Very nice play, right? And as soon as that ball went up, it went way up, and Jason Castro looked at Joe Mauer like, come on here and catch that thing. And it was Eduardo Escobar that came in and took charge. So Eddie comes in and he says, I'll take that. That's tough on a catcher right there. Good job.
He didn't get much of an argument either, did he?
No,
Castro.
no argument at all.
2 down, and now here's Gallo. Rogers trying to protect a 1-run lead.
But you make a good point with Rogers taking the 8th here with 2 left-hand hitters in it. It's probably going to be a little bit of close by committee or close by matchup, I should say, in the 8th and 9th inning for the Twins now.
Matt Belisle appears to be the next arm to come into the game. He's warmed up in the bullpen, and he'll probably come in this inning if Gallo reaches. Swing and a miss, 1-1. And I've said all along, ever since Brandon Kintzler was traded to Washington, you take a look at a pitch with Fox Tracks presented by Carrier. Sharply hit, and Polanco makes the catch. And Rogers has a 1-2-3. You're watching Twins baseball presented by State Farm.
Here in the 8th inning. Don't forget to stay with us after the game for Twins Live, presented by CenturyLink. Today's theme of the day seemed to be the long ball. 3 home runs for the Twins, 2 for the Rangers. We'll take a look at all of them. And today was one of those days where the rain delay was a welcome sight. We'll discuss Jose Berrios' post-delay response, and we'll hear from Paul Molitor. Then don't forget to head to our Fox Sports North Facebook page for Twins Final Pitch, presented by Prism Research. You'll get a recap of today's game, and we will look ahead to the upcoming series against Milwaukee. Guys?
Thanks, Audra. Border battle coming up. 2 here, 2 in Milwaukee. We'll see if the Twins can add a run or 2 here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Middle of the Twins lineup. Rosario, Grossman, and Kepler will bat. Rosario officially tied the game with a solo home run in the 3rd. Twins scratched a run across barely in the bottom of the 5th and enjoy a 6-5 lead.
See if they can scratch another one across. They could use a little bit of insurance here.
That's down the left field line, and a foul ball, 1 strike. Started to say, I suspected all along that the right-handed selection for the Twins in the late innings, in the 8th or the 9th inning, in this case it looks like it'll be the 9th, would be Matt Belisle because of his senior status.
And he's been pitching great here.
Yeah.
Second since the break, he's been very, very good.
Now he has only 5 big league saves, but that's 5 more than Trevor Hildenberger. There's a bunt pushed up the line. Now 2 strikes. We've seen some curious bunting in today's game. We generally do. It's a decaying art in baseball.
Yeah, it really is. And I was on Adrianza a little bit for the bunt attempts that he had, but he's no different than you see around the league. There's just no interest in it anymore. And
Rosario lunges after, rolls it to second, and he's retired. 1 away. That'll bring up Grossman. Partial season ticket packages are now available in the Delta Sky 360 Club and Catch. You can become a Twins season ticket holder today. Become part of the Sweet Spot program. Learn more at twinsbaseball.com or by calling 800-33-TWINS. Crowd of just over 29,000 paid today.
the inability for players to bunt around baseball, it would be tremendously frustrating to me as a manager, so much so that I don't know why they don't insist and figure out a way to make sure that their players are able to bunt guys over. Otherwise, don't put it on. I mean, if you're not going to figure out a way to instill that kind of discipline and make guys adept at bunting guys over, then why would you even put it on? So I'm in favor of teams doing. If I'm a manager, I want guys to be able to bunt guys over. I want to hit cutoff man. I want them moving runners from second to third. Do little things. And yeah, it's great to try to hit the ball out of the ballpark and go ahead and hit the ball out of the ballpark. Everybody wants to do that, but sometimes you have to win games in funny ways and in fundamental ways. And I still think it's part of your job.
2-1 to Grossman, hitting right-handed against Claudio. Strike called. You know, baseball has been called a game of inches, and it certainly is that. The deciding run here was a run that's scored by inches. There's a pitch that's 8 inches outside, and it's called a strike. 2-2 to Grossman. Foul back, but baseball, so many games are decided by 90 feet, just an extra base, whether it's a stolen base or advancing someone, leaving a runner at third with less than 2 out. And boy, if you can just, not literally, but if you can manufacture or steal an extra 90 feet, 1 base per game, you're going to win a lot more games. Fly to center, and Gomez now comes in to make the catch, 2 away.
I think that's absolutely right, and it's the right way to look at it. 90-foot baseball is a game on 90-foot segments, and if you think about it in relation to football, where football teams are trying to make 10 yards at a time, well, it's the same thing. Baseball, you're trying to make 90 feet at a time, and of course, football teams would like to throw a 40 or 50-yard pass and get 4 or 5 of those segments at once, but it's all predicated on making first downs. And if players would look at the 90-foot segments that they can get extra or take away from other teams, they'd be way better players, and teams would win more games. You try to get an extra 90 feet whenever you can, and you try to prevent the other team from getting 90-foot segments, extra 90-foot segments, or 90-foot segments at all, and make the routine plays, throw the ball to the right base, all of those kinds of things.
Kepler takes strike 2. He got jammed on strike 1. Kepler started the comeback with a 2-run home run. His first home run in more than a month. And he got all of it. He hit it into the upper deck in right field. And that floats over the outside corner. Kepler throws the bat away. And we'll go to the ninth. It looks like Matt Belisle's going to get a chance to pick up a save. nothing before the Twins got a chance to swing the bats, but now Matt Belisle will attempt to pick up his first big league save since 2012 with the Colorado Rockies. He has a total of 5 big league saves, and he is, at least today, the closer instead of, in the place of, Brandon Kintzler, who was traded to the Nationals less than a week ago. Carlos Gomez, Robinson Chirinos, and Shin-Soo Choo are due up. We've got Robinson in the on-deck circle for Texas as we speak. Gomez swings and misses. And you're right, Matt Belisle has done a nice job after some disappointing outings, a handful of them in April and May. And Belisle's done a really nice job putting a good season together since then. That's to center field. Buxton calling for it. Gomez is retired. And that'll bring up Robinson pinch hitting for Chirinos.
Two most important attributes a closer can have, in my view, are the ability to throw strikes and then being unflappable or not being excitable. And you're in a tough situation. You have to have your emotions in total control. You have to be able to throw strikes in what appear to be, and probably are, butterfly pressure type situations.
Missing up and in.
You don't want to walk people, and you don't want to not throw strikes because the situation's too big for you. And I think in this particular instance, Belisle is the best option out there for the Twins right now.
Strike called.
Of course, you'd love to be able to say have a closer that throws 99 miles an hour and has a wipeout breaking ball, but short of superior stuff, the next two attributes, I think, unflappability and consistent strike throwing.
Slow breaking ball just off the outside corner, and it's 2-1. Belisle now has gone 12 2/3 innings without allowing a run. It's the second or third longest streak in the American League.
Good try right here. Breaking ball trying to come back and get the outside corner. Just missed.
And back inside and gets a foul ball. And Robinson will go get a new bat. 13 scoreless appearances in a row leading up to his outing here today, allowing just 1 earned run in his last 20 2/3 innings. And again, because of his senior status and the way he's been pitching, he would be the natural guy to succeed Kintzler as the closer. Again, depending on how the hitting sets up, right-handed or left-handed. 2-2. Hit to right, down the line, but foul.
Well, it came inside with a fastball real nicely, tried to follow it up with a slow breaking ball, but just hung it right center cut. Robinson just missed hitting that ball, tying up the game.
Another 2-2. Just missed. He tried to clip the inside corner, and now it's a full count. As you saw Belisle's numbers, other than the ERA, it's been a really good year for him. Opponent batting average of .239. That's pretty good. Doesn't walk people typically. Headed up the middle. Polanco comes over and fires to Mauer. Good play for Polanco to Mauer to get out number 2. There's a pitching matchup for tomorrow. The surprising Brewers coming to town for the first of 4, the first 2 of which will be played here at Target Field.
Always a pleasure to watch Urban Santana pitch.
29,056 the paid attendance here today. Shin-Soo Choo Missing inside, ball one.
Man. He's come in there very well, just off the plate.
And an off-speed pitch over for a called strike. Weird swing by Chu, and it's 1-2.
Chu likes the ball down, as most left-handed hitters do. He likes the ball down, not up, and he chased a high fastball there. He also likes it more out over the plate. It's clear he doesn't like the ball inside strike as well.
1-2 to Shin-Soo Choo. Got him! And Matt Belisle, perfect in his first save opportunity. And Roy, this was a nice one for the Twins to get.
It's a great win for the Twins on a lot of levels. First of all, they needed a win here at home in front of a good crowd here at Target Field. They needed a win for themselves and the standings. And they needed a win for Jose Barrios, who had pitched a gem in San Diego to get a loss. And Barrios gave up 5 runs in the first, but the Twins then settled down, and the Twins rewarded him, kept fighting back, getting him a win, getting themselves a 6-5 victory. Very, very nice.
Anthony, an important win for the Twins, and an impressive one in that they started the game without Miguel Sano and finished the game without Brian Dozier.
And at one point we're down by 5, but they come back to win it. First save since 2012 for Matt Belisle. 6-5 the final. We'll look at Home Run Derby Day at Target Field and hear from the manager next on Twins Live.